better you better eat those Cheez-Its and not make so much noise, dude. You better get some saliva. You better work up that saliva.
Lo siento, lo siento.
You're good. I'll talk for a minute. Welcome, everyone. This is another live stream of Chaotic Sports. I am Chris Sarda. You can find me at Chris Sarda or at Chaotic Sports. This is one of the members of the crew, Wayne, at Never Do I Lose. You can see his Twitter down there. And, dude, we haven't streamed for a while, but we're back on. The podcast is coming soon. I threw Angelo the link again, but he's throwing a shade. He's not even talking to us. But I'm just ready. I'm ready to talk about sports, dude. I've been talking so much about comic books and movies and stuff lately. I'm dying for a little sports. But we can talk movies too if you want. I don't care.
Which is definitely your specialty. Comic books is definitely more of your specialty.
My specialty is everything. I'm a jack of all trades, master of all. Not master of none, master of all. Let's see here.
I'm talking about ask your wife that question.
Better quiet that down there. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, dude, we're going to talk a few different things today. I think we're doing a lot of. What are you doing, dude?
How about that?
We're probably going to end up doing a lot of football, most likely. And then maybe we'll fit in some Conor McGregor, dude. To be honest, except for that Conor McGregor versus Cowboy fight, we don't really got much going on there. So I don't know how I feel about that, but we do have a lot of football. So where are we going to start? We're going to start with the games that happened. We're gonna go to the games that are gonna happen. You want to talk a little Browns coaching? You want to talk a little McCarthy to the Cowboys? I mean, we can go many directions. What do you want to do?
I think we should talk about the past games. Give props where props are due, and
it's tough, man. A lot of good games.
A little critique where critique is due. I think let's just start off with the elephant in the room. I don't know. AFC wild card game.
Oh, the AFC wild card game is the elephant in the room?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Which one are we? Oh, Titans and Brady, right? Titans and Brady. What team did Brady play for again? Is it the New England Brady's? I forget. Hey, man, I mean, I think that it's not that different than what you and I have talked about the whole time, is that I don't see Brady as having a step back necessarily. And I've been a Brady critic, a very light Brady critic, but I think he's the same quarterback he's always been. I think he's still a hard worker. I think that some of the stuff just hasn't developed around him. With that said, the main pieces are more or less there from last year, right? Edelman's there. Gronk's not there, but Gronk didn't have this great year last year, and has been dealing with injuries even when he's playing for a while. And then both running backs are there. So Michelle is there, and James White, who's one of the best pass catching running backs in the game, short of the big ones like Dalvin Cook and Zeke too. I mean, I would say that James White is a poor man's Zeke, because he's still a real running back, but he's a pass catcher. He's not like that lightweight pass catching running back. But nonetheless, those weapons are all there. But
I'd say also, sorry to interrupt, but I just want to point out that a lot of times these running backs don't get as much credit because they're in a New England system where Bill Belichick will only use them for a specific role. So I think that's important to point out too. He's probably a B-level running back that's serviceable, as a combo. But I think the hoodie will utilize them for their specialty or one particular skill set that they have. So
they definitely get used in a certain way. That's for sure. But so a lot of those are still there from last year, but it just didn't come together. I know that, they had high hopes for Josh Gordon. Obviously that doesn't work out. I mean, it was a reach to get Antonio Brown, but then all that stuff came out after they signed him. So it just didn't gel. But the truth is that, I mean, people don't remember that, the Patriots have been winning and being in the Super Bowl recently, but there was still a big chunk where they were getting through. They were, they were losing to like Mark Sanchez and the Jets and stuff too in the playoffs. So people just, they're sort of rehashing and maybe remembering the Patriots as much better than they were, even though they've been the dynasty and the best team. But it's not like since 2002 they were in the Super Bowl all the time. You know what I mean? It's been a nice streak. It's been some great designed offenses. It's been a little bit easier of a path. This year was not an easy path at all. So, I mean, it all came together that, they end up with the wild card. It doesn't work out. They ended up with a little bad luck. They got the hot team. If you remember last year, I think they got, some bad teams made it last year. It was I remember like Houston without Deshaun Watson made it 1 year. So this year, even the mediocre teams and the wild card teams in the AFC were really good. And of course, Tennessee has been really hot. I mean, you were ready at least to discuss Tannehill as MVP for a little bit there a couple weeks ago. I know we just agreed that he was playing well. So, I mean, to me, it's not a surprise. And I mean, I know we'll talk about the Packers in a minute again, but I see the same thing happening there. Like it's almost the same thing, except maybe the Packers play a little bit better teams. But I mean, it just caught up to him. I don't think Brady is done. I think he's very close to the Super Bowl quarterbacks of a few years ago, very close to young Brady, because young Brady, needed protection and needed to get rid of the ball quick too, So if that's designed and they can put that together again, it's not like they're done, I mean, they could be in the mix again and they probably win the division next year, so.
Definitely not done.
Yeah.
But what I will say is it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of variables at play that can make a determination on it. I think a lot of people forget this is probably the first time in 20 some years that Tom Brady's actually a free agent. So that's interesting. A lot of times, players just want to experience the free agency and viewing other locations just to see how it would work out. So I think that that aspect of it will be cool once it kind of begins to unfold. But yeah, I agree with you. Talent wise, they were lacking. I think they also have, I think Mike Vrabel doesn't get enough credit. Ohio State.
He was great.
Mike Vrabel doesn't get enough credit for being one of the very few individuals to leave the Bill Belichick coaching tree and institute a culture and a level of play and a standard that was replicate of what the Patriots are known for, that kind of, or have been known for throughout, their early years, game planning, running the ball at will, passing, dink and dunk, getting some open passes, play action, and again, primarily a good defense.
Quick release. I mean, enough people are leaving the Belichick over these years that I mean, he better think of some new secrets, because they all know his secrets now and they're playing like him. I mean, Vrabel doing what he did at that 5-minute mark, bringing it down to 5 minutes and wasting all that clock time. You had to relook and be like, that's not Belichick doing some crazy crap like that. And then Belichick,
I loved it.
Oh yeah, Belichick on the sideline, angry about it, is like, you'd think that normally Belichick knows the rules and knows the game management so well, and he's the one that's off put by what happened. It was a beautiful thing. I mean, Vrabel deserves a ton of credit. I feel bad for Mariota. I was one of those people that, I mean, obviously, just what ended up happening, it just happened for too long. 6 weeks. That means it was Mariota. Mariota was the weak link there. You sort of hope that maybe that it just didn't work out in Tennessee. You could go somewhere else. But if your team starts winning when the new quarterback comes out, and that new quarterback is Ryan Tannehill, that we all know pretty well, then that means it's probably you. And
Right.
I was in a lot of, 4 or 5 years ago, I was in a lot of discussions over who was better, Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota, who's going to be better in the NFL. I was in a lot of those discussions. I wasn't in one discussion that they would both suck a big donkey dick. Not even one. So this is very surprising to me that they both could be, fringe starters next year and maybe even backups. I mean, I think Jameis will get another chance. I don't know if Mariota will get an immediate chance.
I mean, let's not forget though. I mean, Mariota did have, some success. I will say he did have some success with the Titans, just not enough. He wasn't able to be a difference maker, and I think that's what all teams need is somebody that can make a throw here and there to make a difference.
He had success like from the point of view of a Browns fan, but I mean, not from the point of view of most other people.
Well,
but he played bad enough this year to get benched. So anyway, that's the story. Titans came in hot. Tannehill played great. Let's not forget all this talk. We've talked about Brady. We talked about Tannehill. We talked about Marcus Mariota. Let us not forget about the epic running performance that we got from Derrick Henry, who, person of the game. It's hard to say whether you got to give it to Derrick Henry, but it's hard to say whether it's Vrabel, the way he managed that game, or Derrick Henry, the way he came out and pounded the ball and basically made it look like a game from 2005. I felt like I was looking like at Sean Alexander out there.
Shout out to Alabama running back finding some success in the NFL finally.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see if it keeps going.
Have seen washed up. What I will say to you though is just quickly, you're kind of pixelated. I don't know if it's because you're moving a lot and the autofocus is trying to adjust to you, but you may want to stay still a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have it. We'll let it figure it out. What can we do? Let me turn up the light. Give it a few minutes.
Not to talk as much with your hands,
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Anyway, it's not the way I work. It's the internet. I got a lot of stuff running here, so it is what it is. We're good. Let's just work through it, and I'll fix it on the next stream. Let's see. I can see myself on the live stream doing it now, so we'll see what happens. Anyway,
but yeah, I think Alabama running back finding success, great on him. I just think what were the Titans thinking when they brought DeMarco Murray? I mean, they did have DeMarco Murray there for a little while, ex-Cowboys superstar. Oh, Cowboys! How about those Cowboys?
Well, he worked behind that. He worked behind that big offensive line that year, and then sort of disappeared. Let's not dwell on this game. Let's go to the next game. Let's stick to the AFC. Let's speak really quick about the Texans Bills game. So the AFC East is now gone. The Texans won in overtime, 22-19. That was a pretty good game. I watched that whole game and I missed overtime. So that sucks.
So this is a thing that concerns me about the Texans. It's definitely good that they got that playoff win, and the Buffalo Bills are definitely a formidable opponent, but they're definitely in that lower echelon of a playoff team. I think their offense could use another explosive piece. I think Allen was impressive from Wyoming. That's a Mount West Conference QB finding some success in the NFL.
Something Angelo would definitely let us know about.
Right. So I think, one thing, what I will say moving forward is if you struggled against, which I think they just had a great game plan coming in and they executed excellently, the Bills going into the start of the game and in the first half. But the Texans needed, Deshaun Watson to be special to win that game. So I definitely props to them, and it was a good win. But I see them being challenged, beating Kansas City. That's who they play next, right?
Yeah, they'll get Kansas City next. So
I think high scoring game. definitely, but I don't see them being the victors.
Yeah, I don't think very many people are picking them, but I mean, in the end, Deshaun Watson. I mean, you'll have to have a real special game to beat the Chiefs, and I don't really see it only because if you had to like call out the Chiefs on something, it would be defense. But that defense has
Right.
actually been playing pretty well lately, and
Well, they're
and
going
the
to get
Texans,
Ford back.
huh?
They're getting D Ford back. I think he was out for a while.
Yeah.
I
So
think
I mean, in the end, you'd have to have something special. And but the thing with the Texans is that they're as you know they're not playing to their ceiling really. I mean, the simple fact that DeAndre Hopkins isn't getting the ball a lot means that I mean either there's something wrong with the scheme. That DeAndre Hopkins is not as good a route runner as I thought he was, which I don't think that's true. That Deshaun Watson can't find him. But the simple fact I don't want to hear about double teams. Like if you're going to be a great quarterback, you find your best receiver. And I think that you saw that when Drew Brees was working hard to get Michael Thomas those receptions so that he can beat that record. They were finding Michael Thomas. And in my view, as far as I can tell, DeAndre Hopkins, I think he's the most talented wide receiver out there. I mean, he's my favorite. I'm not saying from a stats point of view because obviously he's not, but I've just thought he was the best for a long time. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something wrong with his route running and he can't get open. But you need to find your best receiver, and that sometimes makes me think. I always look for these teams and I go, well, how could they improve? And this is the obvious one. Get it to your star.
I don't give much betting advice out there. I don't do that. But what I will say is good news. They're actually going to be getting Will Fuller back this week, so that'll open up, a lot more availability or targets for uh,
Hopkins.
Hopkins. I
I
think
think it'll work the other way. I think
because
it'll
he's that guy that
Will Fuller. I think Will Fuller will be getting a lot more. Will be getting open more.
right. Well, it's a combination,
Yeah.
The defenses have to pick their poison. So I think they should be able to score a little bit better. So maybe it could come down to whoever has the better defense.
I
Um,
mean,
it would
they're not.
just suck if Andy Reid lost again without Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the mix. That would not be bode well for him.
Yeah, that'd be a bad look. I mean, we both think that they're going to win, but against the Ravens, that's a little bit harder. Chiefs and Ravens, a little bit harder. Let's keep the lightning round going. Let's jump over to this crazy game that happened in the NFC wild card. The Vikings beat the Saints 26-20. Uh, I think Kirk Cousins is really trying to just throw away the big game. That he's not a big game quarterback because he has played well in his last few primetime games, even though he lost against the Packers, but has been playing well in his last few primetime games, and then beats who, in my mind, was probably the only team that can beat the 49ers, probably. But the
Wow.
Saints just didn't. The Saints, I'm saying, were probably the only team that could beat the 49ers in the NFC. I'm not talking about the Ravens or anything like that. But the Vikings are able to beat the Saints. Drew Brees has to go home disappointed after the Saints have this incredible year, which included 4 or 5 games without Drew Brees that they were somehow able to win with defense. Michael Thomas breaking records, and Drew Brees. Drew Brees. No one calls him the ageless wonder for some reason. Everyone focuses on Brady, but I mean, almost as much as Brady, man. You know what I mean. The team isn't designed so Brees is successful. That's the way I see Tom Brady and the Patriots. Drew Brees is just an arm and a great quarterback and can be successful in a lot of different ways, and can really take advantage of the weapons he's given. But it just didn't work out this week. So what do you think about that game?
First off, I want to say, um, as far as chemistry and the flow of the game, I think, I got to give a little blame to Sean Payton.
Okay.
I think there can come a time in the football game. I mean, chemistry is huge, especially in those clutch moments. And I think their offense was lacking a little bit. And instead of letting Drew Brees get in his rhythm and find his spots in the defense to pick apart, he interjected Hill. And Hill was a talented guy. And I think it's good to switch up the game if you want to try something different or get a different approach or give the defenses a different look. But I think in crucial moments, either you should have left Peyton or Hill in. You should have left Hill in as a quarterback. Maybe rent a little bit more wildcat to get the defense off a little bit, or kept Brees in there to let him kind of get in his rhythm. Because at the end of the day, quarterbacking is a rhythm game, and I think that some of that rhythm and chemistry was taken out. But I'm also
Hill only had one attempt the whole game.
No, he was in there quite a bit. I would say he took a good 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, that's a long time.
He had one attempt and 4 carries.
But I think, like I said, within the flow of the game too, that was also
where they came in. I think they used. See, I'm gonna have to disagree. I think they used, at least in this game, I think they used him right and effectively because it worked. I don't think Drew Brees really got out of rhythm. I think there was some. I mean, it was only a 200-yard game for him, but it was a sort of strange game in the middle there. But I mean, he still had a 90 passer rating. If that was a bad game, I don't. I wish most teams wish they had a quarterback whose bad game was a 90 passer rating. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about your Taysom Hill opinion, man, because I mean, one, it worked. I mean, he has a 50-yard throw. He only threw once, and then they put him out there. I mean, if Taysom Hill, let's say you don't even use Taysom Hill, you just know he's the guy that can play 5 different positions to a high level on the field, and you just put him out there.
Are you here for the looks?
What the fuck?
Or these looks? Into sharing the love or sending it?
Okay. Anyway, let's that's an ad. So I was looking on ESPN. So you put out Taysom Hill out there, even if you don't have him do anything. I don't know that ruins the flow. I think it's just part of their team. I mean, 50 yards rushing and a 50-yard throw, and he went 1 for 1.
How many attempts was that rushing? How many times did he attempt to rush the ball?
I don't know. That noise that you just had was an ad when I opened up and was looking at the stats. So
rush, not only rushes, but all right, he had 1 attempt throwing the football, but receiving as well. But I also want to take a moment to give credit to Kirk Cousins, because I'm not going to say he played like a world beater, but what I was impressed with as a leader is Diggs was showing a little discontent with the way the game was flowing and the amount of his targets, and he still didn't let that fluster him. He got the ball to the open man and moved the ball down the field and scored points. I was very impressed with him. It'll be interesting to see how they play against the Packers when it becomes more of a this weekend. When it becomes more of a points are a premium, and you have to get them to kind of keep pace with a.
One correction. Vikings are the lower seed, so they're playing the Niners. It's Seahawks Packers.
Ooh.
Yeah. So let's jump over there. We'll jump to the Vikings 49ers game in a second, but let's talk about Seahawks Eagles, and we'll move into Seahawks Packers right after that. So man, the Eagles, I mean, they stayed in the game. Josh McCown, I mean, these are his first snaps in the playoffs. I mean, he's 40. He's a career backup, essentially. Been in the game that long, for this long, and he's finally got some snaps in the playoffs. I mean, give him credit. He stayed in the game. But the Seahawks just had a little bit too much, right? I mean, if anything, you would have thought if McCown was playing that the Seahawks should have won by more than 17-9, especially coming off of last week, almost beating the best team in the NFC.
Styles make fights, man. I'm actually kind of shocked that the Seahawks didn't play better, but apparently, both teams are built similarly, defensively, running game, things of that nature. Obviously, the quarterbacks would have made a big difference. I feel like we got robbed as football fans. I would have really liked to have seen, Carson Wentz at his best and healthy versus, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it actually is like it's just really so far at least has been indicative of Wentz's career that the injuries just eventually catch up to him. So this is the first time he's played all 16 games, and the Eagles had it rough at the end of the year. But if you could choose what part of the year to play well in, it's or they had it rough at the beginning of the year. If you choose what part of the year to play well in, you would choose the end of the year. And the Eagles were coming in hot. Cowboys were in first place. Luckily the Cowboys let them stay in it. They were in first place most of the year, and then the Eagles just beat the Cowboys and then did what they had to do in Week 17, and we're actually pretty hot. And I think that you pegged it on the head. Is that injuries are part of the NFL. We all know that, but we really missed out on a really good matchup. Russell Wilson against the Eagles defense and Carson Wentz out there. And look at the score. Do you think that Carson Wentz was good for a touchdown and field goal in that game? He got hurt right away. If he was good for a touchdown and a field goal, that's a win. Assuming that the Seahawks, didn't intercept him or didn't scheme for him perfectly. So
absolutely. I bet you the Eagles kind of wish they had Nick Foles this year
to come right out.
Sometimes you got to pay those backups.
Could you imagine if Nick Foles got super starter money, which the Jags just digging themselves a hole, man. But there's no Jags talk now. But could you imagine if Nick Foles would have came out, like if they would have kept the super sub? In soccer, you do that all the time. Sometimes you'll have like incredible all-star on your bench, and just because you have another guy, six man is very normal in soccer, even though it would be like 12 man. But could you imagine if Nick Foles came out there and then threw like 4 or 5 touchdowns? He would be weird world. The guy that if he comes off the bench, he's going to beat you. But if you could plan for him, you're going to make him look stupid. But yeah, we got cheated for this. I don't have much more to say about this, honestly. The Seahawks did what they needed to do. Every game is close. Part of me thinks that if Wentz was here and he put up 31, the Seahawks would have put up 33 or 29. So every game is close. What this does give us, and let's move right into, sorry, Philly fans, I know you guys are passionate, but the game didn't go your way and Wentz got knocked out. What this does set us up for, and this is what I want to talk about, what I've been waiting to talk about is a rematch between the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. Now, these guys have a pretty storied history with the two biggest games happening with the so in the regular season, of course, a few years ago with the replacement refs, we had, I even forget what they call it now. What was it? Catchgate? I forget what they call it, where the replacement refs called the stupid call and screwed the Packers over. And then, I sent you the text, with the highlights. It was a 10-minute highlight, so I know you probably didn't watch it, but it was the game where the Packers are just beating up on the Seahawks. This is in 2014. Russell Wilson threw 5 interceptions that game. 5 interceptions. There were 2 other fumbles. So they're just playing sloppy. They're just playing sloppy. Even Aaron Rodgers had a couple interceptions. When you watch those highlights, you're like, oh man, both these defenses came out to play. Both these defenses, that 2014 game, that they knew they were playing really good quarterbacks, and they knew they had to, they knew they had to play because the quarterbacks made a lot of mistakes, with Russell Wilson making 5 of them, and then of course them tying it, and then I think that was the first year of the overtime rule, where if you score a touchdown, the other team doesn't even get to go on the field, so we didn't even get to see Aaron Rodgers in overtime. And it was one of the most like heart-wrenching things in my life. I was watching that game with a Seattle fan, and 6 or 7 minutes before the game was over, he shook my hand. He goes, "Good game, bro. Good game." You guys won fair and square, and then somehow 25 minutes later, the Seahawks were moving on in the playoffs onto the Super Bowl, and Aaron Rodgers was just white with, anger that that the game played out the way it did. I mean, they got the Seahawks got an onside kick. Dude, you got to go watch those highlights after this. I mean, it's just a crazy game. So now we get a little bit more interesting matchup, and I'm sorry I'm blabbering so much here, but setting up for your comments. Now we get a little bit more interesting matchup because now it's 2019. It's Russell Wilson that has all the weapons, the DJ Metcalfs and whatnot. It's Russell Wilson that is one of he might be the best deep ball thrower in the game right now, but he's up there. You got a return of beast mode. The defense isn't, the defense we remember from back in the day, but it's still good. And then you got the Packers, who are probably the most criticized 3-loss team in the history of the NFL. So,
come on,
really, they really are, and I agree with the criticism. Yeah, I mean, you're a Browns fan. What do you want? Yeah, I agree with the criticism, but they're legitimately. No one thinks the Packers are good or that good, but somehow they're out there with 3 losses, and they're in the playoffs, and now they're playing Seattle. They Vegas has them -4, but I think that's just the home field, to be honest. And you have Aaron Rodgers with a new coach, his second coach in his whole career. You have a lesser receiver core. We got a good running back, but we've always had the James Starks and the Ryan Matthews and the Amon Greens and the Eddie Lacy's. We always have these running backs that play good for a year or two. So this year, Aaron Jones is playing really well. And now it's Aaron Rodgers that's the game manager. And it's Russell Wilson that's the high-flying, 50-yard pass thrower. Both of them are still protecting the ball pretty well. And we get a rematch. This time it's in Lambeau, so in weather. So it's the same teams, same leaders, same quarterbacks, but all this stuff is just a little bit different. What do you think about that game?
I think it's going to be a great game. I'm excited. It's going to be close. I think we'll get typical Russell Wilson antics. But what I do think is, unfortunately, on a bye week, and not Tom Brady, but Aaron Rodgers having an additional week to prepare. Ooh. They have a better defense. Now with Mike Pettin coaching up the defense, and they got some real active, young, aggressive, or not young, but veteran, aggressive, savvy defensive ends. And so they got some youth behind those guys as well. And again, as you said, the running game. I do think, styles make fights, and I think they'll be able to control the ball. Aaron Rodgers with the running game is always going to be dangerous in the playoffs. In addition to that, I think the only missing piece for the Seahawks is Russell Wilson missing Disley, his star tight end that he had all year. That was kind of his safety blanket. So yeah. I think they'll find some success, but overall, I think you guys will get it done, and I think they'll be meeting the 49ers and that's where I think the line is drawn. And I only say that because it's not that I don't think Aaron Rodgers is good, but I think first-year coach against a guy just as savvy as Shanahan, who's been game planning with that experience. I just think there'll be moments throughout the game, crucial moments, where there'll be some lack of maybe play calls or clock management or whatever the case may be. And I think that the 49ers will end up going to the Super Bowl to represent the NFC.
So this is crazy. I love that you think that we're going to beat the Seahawks. I don't. I mean, if there was a situation where I would want to play Russell Wilson, it'd be this situation with all the injuries and in Lambeau and weather and in snow, and obviously people in Wisconsin will be rooting for the Packers without a problem. But it's funny because, Russell Wilson's Wisconsin. So all those people were rooting for Russell Wilson, 6 years ago. But that's just a fun little thing there, right? I don't think that they beat Seattle. And I just think that team has been, that leadership's been together long enough. If they do, great. I mean, I've been watching the Packers a long time, or this whole year. I probably missed 20 snaps, just gritting a soda or a beer or something. And I can see that they're just a little inch away, from that offense really sparking up. But I don't, it's a coin flip that happens. But
Aaron Rodgers with two weeks to prepare. That's
right. You know what? It's close. I mean, to me, it's almost a pick
in your favor.
Yeah, it's a pick 'em, but I can see a lot of things going wrong.
Oh, let us not forget. Beast mode was just on the couch 3 weeks ago. Now he's in playoff mode, playing beast mode, playoff football. So I think, with not playing a full regular NFL season and conditioning his body to play these 2 back-to-back games, especially in the snow, I think, he'll perform a little
not as good as well.
What we would expect from him in a playoff caliber game, just because he hasn't had a full season. But I think that also will be a factor, minus the tight end. Easy win for Aaron Rodgers and the crew.
I hope it is. So let's say that the Packers do get. So I think we both. Well, let's go. Let's check out both these teams in the 49ers. I was just going to say, I think we both agree that the 49ers will handle the Seahawks with the way they're injured, but we just watched the Seahawks be a yard from beating them. So let's not say that that'll happen. I agree with you. Packers lose to the 49ers. The only thing I'll say is this would be LaFleur's chance to so we could really see if he's Belichickian. I will call this Belichickian, because this will be his second look at the 49ers, and they got crushed in the regular season. Like, they got embarrassed, and that's one of the worst games I've ever seen Aaron Rodgers play, and not because he was getting sacked, just because he didn't have choices. It was just roll out, throw it away, roll out, throw it away. No one's open. Sit in the pocket 5-6 seconds. And Aaron Rodgers looked terrible that game. He just didn't have anywhere to go and didn't take any risks. But this is our chance to really see if they can, if the Packers do get through the Seahawks, we'll really get the chance to see the adjustments made and whether they really come out ready. So even if they keep the game close, I'd be happy. Also, as well as Garoppolo has been playing, we still see a lot. Randomly, he'll have these terrible games, and then he'll just switch to this guy that doesn't take care of the ball. He didn't look good against the Rams. That was only a couple weeks ago, and then he looked great in Week 17. He played well against Seahawks, if I remember correctly. So I agree. I don't think the Packers have it to beat the 49ers. But the one thing in the Packers' favor is, one, it's probably better they're not playing the 49ers in Lambeau because of weather. It's weird to say that about a Packer home game, but it's probably better they play in good weather in San Francisco. And number two, hey, if Matt LaFleur, if you're so good, you're getting a second look at the best team in the NFC. You're getting a second look at them. What can you do? What can you do to change that? What can you do to get some receivers open? And what can you do to make it so that Aaron Rodgers feels like he should throw the ball to one of these guys?
Right. And so, with you saying that, I actually want to make a transition back to the AFC, because we didn't talk about the Ravens. With meaning a second look is because I think personally the Super Bowl that we're going to end up seeing is the Ravens versus the 49ers, which is also interesting because we saw that less than a decade ago with Kaepernick versus the Ravens. That was and Ray Lewis. But they will also be playing, if that Super Bowl matches up, they'll be playing for the second time this year as well. So that'll be very interesting. I just wanted to point that out. I think the Ravens are playing who this week. Who are the Ravens playing this week? I forgot.
They should be playing the Texans. I'll check to make sure, but
the Texans. I think the Texans are playing Houston or.
Oh yeah, Texans are playing the Chiefs. I'm sorry, the Ravens. I kept saying the Texans during the game too when I was talking about the Titans. Like all these blue and red teams, man.
That, my friend, is going to be all out in the trenches, rock'em sock'em, best game of the weekend, hands down.
Titans Ravens, huh?
Man, because styles make fights, and these teams are built exactly the same, except for the dynamic of, everybody knows the quarterback, Lamar Jackson. But I think they'll edge it out, but it's going to be a close game, very under. I like the under on this game too, by the way. So,
well, I mean, it looks like it because it's going to probably look like a rugby game. They're just going to be running from scrimmage the whole time, So we'll see.
The Titans are going to be a very disciplined team. They're gonna shoot the gaps. They're gonna get to their assignments. They're gonna try to contain. They're going to try and contain Lamar Jackson, and he is beatable. I mean, after all, the Browns smashed him. You know what I'm saying? Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, but that was early, man.
Yeah, I mean, same team, same players, just, the chemistry wasn't all there, I'll admit, but the Browns' chemistry wasn't all there either, let's be honest. But I think they are beatable with, a good defense, and the Titans defense is underrated. I think that's important as well. I mean, after all, they kept Tom Brady at home under 13 points or under 14 points.
I mean, it's 2019 Patriots.
So,
yeah, it still is. So let's just really touch on this one really quick, and then I want to talk coaches for a minute, and then we'll wind this down. So you don't give the Vikings any chance to beat the 49ers. Yeah, me either. I think Kirk Cousins made his run. He looked good doing it. Wild card. Beating the 49ers is a tall order, even though they've looked a little bit more human the last few weeks. I don't think so either. Well, let me ask you this then. Let's say that the matchup was the Vikings and the Seahawks. Who would win that? Let's say they were playing, and they're playing next week. So with these injuries, with everything. See, so I don't even want you to answer it. Don't even answer it because it's hypothetical. The only thing I want to point out is that, and I know that the answer is styles make fights. I get that that's going to be the answer. But, the Seahawks, and maybe the division game, the Seahawks were a yard. This injured, they were a yard from beating the 49ers. And we're not even giving the Vikings a chance. And they've been playing well. They lost to the Packers. But, I mean.
I'd say regular season. And to answer your hypothetical question, I was actually going to give the win to the Vikings.
Really? And the Seahawks should have won that game and probably been first seed if they got the pass interference call and if they didn't make the mental mistake of the delay of game. If one of those things went their way, they probably would have won that game against the Niners. So, hey, you know what? That's why they play the games. That's why they play the games, right? We're going to watch it on that. Yeah, we're going to watch it.
Wild fun talking about hypotheticals, which was awesome. I appreciate that. I feel like we have another 15 minutes to talk about MMA.
No, we're gonna let's not talk about MMA. Let's go. There's two more things I want to talk about, and it's football. Let's get to football. I'm the biggest fan, dude. But it's right now it's just Connor. Connor makes clicks, but we could do another. Connor clicks. We're gonna talk about coaches right now, and we're gonna start with one coach, and we're gonna transfer into the Browns, and then we'll close with the Browns. So today, breaking news: former Packers coach Mike McCarthy, who's been out the whole year, got hired by the Cowboys after their disappointing playoff miss, and Jason Garrett, who's been had a ton of criticism this year, finally gets fired. They hire Mike McCarthy. What do you think about that?
Ooh,
and that your team was after him. Your team, yeah. Oh, okay.
Glad you asked. Glad you asked. Because you know what this does? Because this is what I love to do. It allows me, can I say profane language on here? Just one word.
Fuck.
Opposite of caca. This allows me to shit on Cowboy fans. This is what I want to tell you. Mike McCarthy, although a better coach than our man Jason Garrett, the Clapper.
The Clapper.
Kudos and props to the Clapper. You lasted as long as you could. But if, Mike McCarthy could not find success with one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL that we have known for years, I don't see him finding Super Bowl success in the least bit with Dak Prescott. Now, what I will say is,
I disagree, but I'm gonna let you go.
If he finds a way to make him an accurate quarterback thrower of the football, i.e. replicating in that video that was sent to us today, Joe Montana, I think he could get a little bit better. But also, I think you are who you are. I think guys who are known as defensive gurus, offensive coordinator, geniuses, I think that's what you are. I think a lot of McCarthy's success was because he had a great quarterback, and I just don't think he's an offensive genius. I don't think that he's going to bring anything else to the table except for a little bit more leadership and maybe some improvements with Dak throwing the football and overall leading the team to the table. That's me. That's yet to be determined, of course. This is just my own personal opinions.
So I agree and I disagree with you. Right? I agree with the Dak and Aaron Rodgers stuff, right? Here's what's different though. Okay? And Jerry Jones deserves a lot of criticism. It's his team, run it how he wants, right? But what Jerry Jones does do that the Packers and Ted Thompson didn't do is, they got lucky to get Aaron Rodgers. That's great that worked out for him. They got lucky. Mike McCarthy was the one that didn't choose him in the 49ers. And it fell, he fell to the Packers, and they got lucky for that. But Ted Thompson was so adamant about draft picks and developing players. And hey, in a lot of ways it worked out as far as wins, not Super Bowls, just one, but wins it worked out, I mean, they got Devontae Adams, they got Jordy Nelson, they got why can't I remember his name? He's playing for the Cowboys now. I loved him. He's probably my favorite player for a minute.
Randall Cobb.
Yeah, Randall Cobb. You had all these running backs that really worked out for a year or two. Eddie Lacy, as your fantasy team knows. James Starks, if you remember James Starks. Ryan Matthews. Now Aaron Jones. I mean, we have all these running backs that are good for 2 years, and then they're out of the league. So he was so dead set on doing it that way, where our best and biggest free agent signing before the Smith brothers this year was Julius Peppers, right? Like, we never signed free agents. So that's the one little difference. Let's see what McCarthy could do for that. Because what Jerry Jones does is he'll spend money, and he'll sign all the big free agents. As soon as someone else comes, and he built a talented team. So whatever you think about Dak Prescott, he's at least a good leader. And you and me have been critical about him, but he's at least a good leader, and he's playing a lot better than I thought he would. I thought he would already be about to be benched by now, and he's not. He's a legitimate starter. And don't you ever say that I can't admit when I'm wrong, because there's an example right there. So he is a legitimate starter. Yeah, and then you got Zeke. You got a receiving core. You got to find those guys, though. You know what I mean? Jason Witten probably won't be there. And you got an offensive line, and the defense is, there's talent there. It just hasn't come together. So that's the difference. And I don't know that I disagree with you with what you said, but there is a big difference. You can't go, he only won one Super Bowl with one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, because the team philosophy was so different in Green Bay. That you got to build through the draft, and all these people have to, the Packers are still doing it. We're waiting for I can't remember his first name. We're waiting for Lazard to be the number 2 receiver with the Packers right now. A 3-loss team. Their number 2 receiver is, Lazard, it seems like. So he does get a lot of talent. So is Dak. Maybe you can teach Dak you are who you are. Maybe Dak's good enough for a McCarthy offense when there's all this other talent around it. So the talent is a lot better there.
I think, I think that Dallas lost their window. They had their chance to win with the Giants being terrible, the Eagles also being terrible, and the Redskins being terrible. Like, this was their moment to shine.
Yeah,
and I think
I agree.
They also had a phenomenal. That they lead the offensive yards this year. The stats for the NFL, I think, at least Dak passing or somewhere.
If you were to look at offensive stats, you would think the Cowboys would probably be a playoff team. I mean, Dak was high up on all the QBR ratings. He had a decent amount of touchdowns, receptions. I think you're right. Maybe total yards, I'm not sure. If you just look at offensive yards, you'd go, "Oh, that's a good team." But I mean, obviously, it didn't come together.
I think the difference that McCarthy will make is in crunch moments where coaching really matters and some schemes. I mean, where you're going to have to run the ball with Zeke. That's and your defense is going to have to be good. So I think he may tweak and improve some areas, but is that going to be enough? I just don't see it.
Yeah, well, I agree. It's not an exciting choice, but I think they wanted a company man. So let's move on. McCarthy got hired immediately, but he was. Oh, go ahead.
Jerry Jones is always going to interject. I think some of the most successful companies in the world, some of the most successful businessmen, they hire the right people and they allow them to do their job, and they recognize
that's a Jerry Jones thing. It's just the way that team is. So either they're going to find success that way or they're going to not. So Mike McCarthy gets hired immediately by the Cowboys. He was a coach being looked at by the Browns. My theory is that Jerry Jones hired him right away, saw what he's doing in the offseason, saw how important it is to be an NFL head coach to him. Also, that he'd probably be a company man and just signed him right up because he probably thought the Browns were going to sign him, to be honest. The Browns probably thought they had more time to think. So McCarthy's off the table now. Josh McDaniels seems to be one of the high choices. A few college coaches. I don't know as much, and you got all of the morning radio. You're in Cleveland. So tell me what you think. Tell me what you want to happen. Tell me what you think is going to happen. And then, just fill in the fans on the Browns coaching situation.
Well, let me be the first to welcome McDaniels if he brings Tom Brady with him.
He's not bringing Tom Brady with him.
I was in the gym today and I was like, man, if McDaniels brings Tom Brady, I will probably go buy 5 jerseys, various color waves of Tom Brady. Like, let's just be honest.
Not happening.
Wait, Tom Brady, why would you not want to come here? There were instances where maybe Odell Beckham was like, yo, why don't you come here instead of, hey, come get me? Maybe Odell was like, yo, why don't you come here? We got a leading rushing game. We got a Myles Garrett who's going to come back wrecking heads. You know what I'm saying?
I love Myles Garrett.
We got Landry. I mean, why don't you come here, let McDaniels coach and Tom Brady? You just throw the football and let overrated. I'm going to pull that from Rex Ryan. Overrated Baker Mayfield. Learn from you.
You think he's overrated? Before we get to Baker, let me tell you what Tom Brady's going to do. He's on the phone. He's all, "Hey, Josh. Oh yeah, I'm just looking at myself in the mirror. I'm just staring at myself, kissing my kid on his lips. Oh, you want me to go to Cleveland? Oh, you mean where that young guy was running for his fucking life? Have you seen my game for 20 years? I don't leave the motherfucking pocket. I don't leave the pocket. Oh gosh, you expect me, 47 years old, to go out there and you're going to scheme, which you couldn't do with Belichick today. You're going to scheme so that I could throw the ball in 3 seconds to two deep ball guys. Oh, You want to end my fucking career early? I'm trying to play another 3-4 years. You want me to go to the Browns and die?
Ouch!
Not gonna happen. So Brady's not leaving. Brady's not leaving New England. He loves it there. No one in their right mind can think of him in a different jersey. And number two, even if it was reasonable, even if the situation was there, like it was for Peyton, where an Andrew Luck was coming up or something, even if it was there, Brady would be fucking murdered on your team. There's no way. Your biggest hole is protection. You think Josh Daniels?
That was my hopeful ploy. That was me.
Listen, a couple O-line guys, or maybe O-line guys that Josh McDaniels even knows, maybe, but that's not. I know they're really good, but that's not Brady's. That's not Brady's. That's not where he's going to excel in a situation like that.
Realistic. I think I just saw that, which would be a hire that I may actually approve of. He hasn't had much success, but I think if he came to Cleveland, he might be able to get. I don't know, man. I just saw Schwartz.
Schwartz. Okay.
That they may be getting approval to possibly hire him. I think the Browns are a very young team.
Yeah.
I think we need leadership. We need someone who's proven that they can do it and get the job done, or at least be a leader of men. I think that's, it was telling to me in some of the interviews after the season ended, where, Landry, who I think is one of the leaders of the team, stated that they were missing leadership. They needed somebody that respects the players. What was telling to me, which was, you can see it all throughout the season in the play calling, but they also said they needed someone that respected the opponents. And I think part of Freddie Kitchens' failures was because he didn't respect the opponents and thought way too highly of his offensive scheme and what he could have his players do, which in the end, obviously, we didn't. So with that being said, there aren't too many coaches out there with that particular skill set of being a head NFL coach and being proven. So I would love to see Harbaugh come back and get fired from Michigan and come back, but that's not realistic either. So it looks like through process of elimination, without some of the other senior coaches out there looking for a job, I would even take Rex Ryan. We know our defense would be phenomenal. I don't think he'd get along with Baker, calling him overrated as hell all the time.
Oh yeah, it's not going to work.
But Stefanski, I don't know much about him as an offensive coordinator. I don't think he's doing anything world beater-ish in Minnesota with their offense. So I just think through process of elimination, I don't know who I want now because
I'll tell you who I would want I would want McDaniels. And for the simple reason is when they hired Kitchens, it was really weird. It was like, that guy's unproven. And I know McDaniels never been a head coach, but here's what happens with McDaniels. Here's what happens with McDaniels.
He drafted Tim Tebow.
Who, McDaniels?
Yeah, out in Denver.
Yeah. He was part. That's a GM decision. I guess I blame McCarthy for not drafting. He's part of a group there. Tim Tebow's special because someone really wanted him in that team, and Josh McDaniels probably was overridden. The guy's smart. Here's the thing: if Josh McDaniels gets hired and he actually doesn't renege on the team like he did to Indianapolis, if he gets hired, then if it doesn't work out, then that was just bad luck. Like Freddie Kitchens to me felt like a bad choice. So you had Hugh Jackson. They like almost decided to just stick with a coach because you guys had a new coach like it seems like almost every year. And Hugh Jackson, they kept him into that second year. It looked like you were sticking with a coach. Maybe he wasn't the right one. And then when he had those issues with Baker and they fired him, and Kitchens comes around and they keep him around, it just didn't feel like the smart move. Like, what do you need to do with the Browns? You need to just really take that time to pick a coach. So what I'll say about McDaniels is in a lot of ways what McCarthy was for Dallas. Hey, we don't know what's going to happen. it's the safe choice. You know, if you're not looking for this established coach, which there's not a lot of them out there, you're not getting Harbaugh or anything like that, then McDaniels, you know, he's done really well with not that much, to be honest. I know he had Belichick right along with him.
I think Stefanski could also be a choice because they were looking at him a lot last year until they hired Kitchens. I think that was in honor of Kitchens, you know, I guess why not, you know, share
Share the Christmas present. Share the Christmas present.
Departing, his entry words and my departing words.
Hold that better. Hold that in the middle. Hey, if you don't wear brown and orange, you don't matter. There you go. Let's close with that, Wayne. Thank you guys very much for watching, or people watching on the rewind. We're going to do this a lot more. NFL. Wayne's dying to talk MMA. I haven't let him talk MMA yet. And that's all we talk offline, right? So we talk a lot of MMA. We're going to do MMA, boxing. Let's get this going more often. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Chaotic Sports broadcast. My name's Chris Sard. Find me at Chaotic Sports and at Chris Sard on Twitter. Find Wayne right there at Never Do I Lose. You can see how he spells it right there down below him. Thank you guys for watching. Wayne, tell the people you love them.
Hey, peace. And
chicken grease.
Yeah.
We're done.